Okay, so I'm just going to. I almost thought of streaming, but no. I saw this guy, Hans Franz, another loser. And when I say loser, I mean life loser, life goober. So he's got one subscriber, and it's just funny how people want to comment, but they have no content. I should almost make a rule that if you have no content, you can't comment. If it doesn't fit, you must quit. I'm going to just peruse the markets here and try to answer the comments. I can also call this comments. So the notifications have been piling up, and let's take a look here. So I'm going to have to go to the video here.
Okay, so I'm staring at the meter
I'm
here.
going to hear myself again. And it says Simpleton is now live. That's complete bullshit. YouTube is so fucked up. What's happening is that there's some video that I'm deleting or something. And it's just... Anyways, here's the recovery of the yen after selling off earlier. I don't know if there was news, and it really doesn't matter. Once again, I'll say this for the 80 millionth time. I'm sure a lot of people get what I'm saying, and it's obvious the trades you need to be doing. So let me just see if I can... I think people miss the point of my video. The magic is execution. That's the script, or the EA, have you. And tonight I'm running some EA tests, I think. I thought of forcing the robot, the only robot I have is that script bot, and just force it to put in hedges every 4 hours, just because 4 hours went by. And I'm curious to see what happens there. In other words, you wouldn't be over trading. You'd be picking the frequency of trading. So let's just go through this thing here. This comment from this guy, he says, Shorten is his name. And it's always fun to talk to complete strangers on the internet. So, you know, I really wish people would do a video, but I know people are shy or they don't have any equipment. I always wonder how they made it to the internet, though. Like, what do you want, a Windows 98? Your Service Pack 3s would be okay. Windows XP Pro. I think that's the ultimate platform. It's just like Facebook. After you reach a certain point, you know. I was talking to the girl at the store today, and I said, yeah, when they going to drive it? Now, she looked like she was all of 20 years old. I said, when are they going to drive it off a cliff? I mean, when are we going to go back to just, like, analog? I think it's coming back. The bookstores, the coffee shops. It's all coming back. So I'm going to make some tea here. Stay awake. Using spring water. Hope I'm not going to create some weird, bizarre kind of creature. Sci-fi movie here. So I'm just going to, it's real time, we'll let that go. 3 minutes. Hope that microwave isn't going to screw up. I got a buddy that has a 67 Firebird. When he starts it up, his TV goes wacky. He's got a digital on-the-air grab TV, and it's just whacked out over the fact that he's revving his motor. I guess the vortex created by the cylinders is too much. So the guy says, the premise is good, but your risk management plan is not organized enough to trade this way. However, so there's a lot said right in that phrase there. Let me see if I can drag this over into the comments. So this is a video, the recent video I did with audio. Like I said, that's cost you extra. Yeah, the troll, so I guess I triggered that guy. And I still want to do one of these videos about this simulation of random markets. I think that's really fascinating. I wonder if you get some random data inside MT4 and just trade random data that isn't a real market. That would be interesting. If you could create a synthetic market in MT4. So here's the comment from Hans Friends. Ton, just close your YouTube channel, man. It's all crap. Okay, so that's so funny because so I had to reply to that because I have Donald Trump in me, apparently. It looks like you closed yours. So he's one subscriber. So he's one of these guys that, he's from Germany or something. The premise is good, but the risk management plan is not organized. I don't know if that's what this is. So enough to trade this way. Well, of course, I said that many a time in the video that I have so many caveats in my videos. It's astounding. Stuff like, don't even try this at home. That's why so people are like, why are you trading a demo? I'm like, are you seeing what I'm doing here? Like, that stuff that I wrote, yeah, of course it's not organized. Like I said, trading's work. You could be a good painter, but you still got to pick out the canvas that you're going to use and all that stuff. And you still got to be that guy that has some shit together, right? You have to say you're going to open a coffee shop. You still got to have stuff like, well, the health department's going to come, so that's something you'd have to have queued up. But so that's like your brokerage account, whatever leverage you have. So trading's a business, which everybody knows it is. If it's going to be money-making business, it could be a losing business. You could get a grant from the government to study spreads or something. Probably, it's fucking hilarious. It is. Some people. But yeah, so that's the thing, you know, what do we have for the, the choices here? Are we a swing trader? Are we a scalper? When I say swing trader, I mean you're a fundamentalist, or you're you don't mind being underwater for 3 days or 3 hours. Like, I'd even say a swing trade to me. If your normal time frame is a 5-minute chart and you step outside that, how many Gartleys are there on the 1-minute chart? Okay, there's 10 Gartleys a day. I'm going to speak like Goober speak. So how many moving average crossovers are there on the? Sorry, that was loud. How many? Right? How many fractals are there? How many Williams fractals are there on the 30-second chart? Well, there should be almost twice as many as the 1-minute chart. Of course, do you take the, how do you feel about trading a 30-second dragonfly? I mean, these are like, you could say, dude, look at that trade. Okay, look at the spread. And I said that in the last video. Okay, here's the thing. Yeah, I'm not an organized person when I'm doing these videos. I'm not spelling this out like, I guess it should be said. And like, that's when you start to say, well, that's a formal presentation. I'm going to write a book. Okay, so I'm just sitting here bullshitting. I'm just free association. You say hot, I say dry. So you play that free association with yourself to figure out, I guess, to be honest with yourself. So the biggest lie you tell is when you tell yourself, oh, I can do this. Well, can you? Do you practice doing that? Are you good at, can you do that? And I don't know what this guy's referring to, but I think he's talking about the trading. The premise is good, but your risk management plan is not organized enough to trade this way. Well, does it matter? Like I said, if you're trading with $200 and you undertrade it and you lose $20 a week, or you lose $200 a week. So this thing about risk, and these are 10Ks I was trading in the last video. And like I said, there's a limit to everything. Like, of course, I don't know. Some brokers are saying you can trade like go to Forex Metal. They'll let you trade like 1,000 to 1 leverage and put in about, oh gosh, I'd say a million 1Ks, just like Trader's Way, just like that Uniglobe that I blew up. I was in like $3 million position in 1Ks, so it's a lot of 3,000 tickets floating out there, right? And each could have had their own unique trade plan, or I could have duplicated the same dumb trade over and over again. So you have such a wide, vast envelope of possibility, right? It's immense. So if you think about that, and then you think about, well, like, where could I go today? In the next 3 hours, what could I do? Well, it's almost infinite. But of course, it'd be limited to, I guess the Concorde doesn't exist. So if you had like a helicopter in your backyard, could you get to California? Like if you had to, you got your own landing pad, what is the possibility? So I would say the same thing about the market. Like, okay, how many pips can it move when the news comes out? That's an amazing question to me. Like, that is such an utterly abstract question. And this is without regard to anything. And of course, you would say that if you look at the depegging of Swiss franc, which is an example of how an unregulated market looks, as far as, just, well, let's pull the peg. And of course, if you look at all the euro to the Swiss, you look at the euro Swiss, that instrument, euro versus Swiss, or Swiss versus euro, take a look at that thing, and it's insane. Like, just imagine there's no spread. That thing's locked, pegged, it keeps bouncing. It really looks like it's got a floor. Then they depeg it. It's just funny, because I do think about markets go up and down, there's pegs on a wall, and they just depeg that puppy, and you just drop like a rock. That's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty, it's like a physical thing, but that's money. So it's money in the account, and they just said Facebook sold off. Gee, I wonder if there was a vacuum underneath that thing. And of course, is it a crowded trade? And then, of course, they said the biggest sell-off on Facebook since it opened. Yeah, because they pegged it. On the initial open of Facebook as it traded, it was pegged. It was funny. I was watching the ticker, and I thought, do you mean the government's saying that you can't bid it any lower? That's next week. In 3 days, you can bid it lower, and then they just... all the profit takers, all the initial public offering guys were done feasting on it, so it was just up for these bottom, the bottom, the next series of people to come in. And so you feel like the market's doing something to you, as Mark Douglas would say. It's betrayed you in some way. Oh, I went into this trade, or I signed up with this guy, or this guy's channel's all crap, or... But to date, we're still I'm still able to complain. They haven't shut me down. I'm still getting copyright infringements from past days. So the guy says your premise is good, and I don't even know which one he's referring to, which is trolling, I guess, with limits. Like I said, there's brokers only giving you 3 execution choices. It's up for you to design your trade plan to that execution. You need a starting point. I think the hardest thing about trading is that, where do you start? Where do you start anybody in that? Like, now, if we were to build a car, I think that you have the same problem in a way. In other words, do you get somebody familiar with nuts and bolts and then show them a car? Like, this is the wax on, wax off theory, Karate Kid. Do I have you wax the car back and forth and later on tell you that that is your tool to kill people? Or do I show you some guy killing somebody and go, you want to know how to do that? You got to go wax the car. And is it better to, I say, well, I guess you've tainted somebody's brain if you've taken them, you can't unring the bell. If you've taken them down some highway or they're already pre-exposed and they have lost money trading and they think, oh, this is just impossible. It's only impossible because you kind of you're a Marxist, pragmatist, and you probably created a utopian system that has great entries on moving average crossover. But the problem is it doesn't take into account the spread, the time frame, and the rarity of that crossover, and the amount of pips you'd have to risk, and if you don't have scaled risk. So why would you scale your entries? Because you're scaling your risk. So when the guy says your risk management plan is not organized, well, actually it is quite organized because each ticket has a risk. It may be well, let's just say the process of trading it is disorganized because, like, I'm just doing a video and I'm just throwing shit out there. Like I said, this is why you'd want a robot. He's going to throw that shit out there. Like, who wants to drop an... I've done it. Who wants to drop an order... oh gosh, a 10K, 30 pips steep every 15 minutes. In one case, starting at 10 pips steep all the way to 30. So they could write that script. And you can run that. But that's like, it's stupid if the market isn't moving at that, it's not vibrating at that rate to capture that swing. So you have to figure that those kind of strategies are so niche that that's not good enough. So to have 15-minute trolling, you couldn't live off that. You're going to have orders that are 100 pips deep that are waiting 3 days to get filled. You need a bank of orders. Okay, this is the secret. You need a 20K sitting out there, just waiting to get filled. It's not waiting. You're waiting. It's sitting there. It doesn't wait. You know, the order doesn't have a impatience factor. And so if you've ever scalped and made money quickly, you know that I'm sure your subconscious says, wow, look at that. I can make money quickly. And you could also lose it quickly. And that's recorded in your mind now. And so all the people that are all butthurt commenting on my site have experienced that betrayal. And they feel like they're like, oh, you know, and they're an angry trader. But you have to turn that anger, like you have to turn that into money and find a way to, I don't think you can, this idea that you're going to become a disciplined person, an organized person, probably not going to happen. Better to take the script and write it in such a way that, so if you like to overtrade, you are going to put in orders every 15 minutes that are 10 pips deep, and you're going to make it so it's work to get filled. Like you're like, okay, I want to be doing something. Let me throw some orders out there. And you will get tagged on orders occasionally. But now you've got to go hunting for tight spreads, and you can only do this in certain times of day because it's just not... There's no sense in trying to want a traffic jam to happen or want the traffic to unjam and start moving. So some people don't like to be caught in traffic, but some people find it tranquil to be in a traffic jam because they're like, oh, I can just, like, I don't have to fucking fight for a lane or whatever I'm doing, you know. And so those things are consideration too. And is trading fun for you? Or are you pissed off and butthurt so you lash out on people's channels? And is it okay to have a different thought than the mainstream thought? Are you allowed to criticize people's trading? Or you just accept, oh, he's making money, you can't say anything about him, or he's a nice guy? If you see stupidity, should you point it out? Like if somebody is, but maybe they enjoy that. Like, so in other words, if you join Scientology and you're like, dude, I've never been happier in my life. Who's to judge, right? You know, it's crazy, right? The premise of that is like nuts, you know, how life started. But yeah, trading certainly, certainly is probably the most bizarre thing you'd ever do to make money. Because you really are getting inconsistent rewards. And you may think that's random, and it's just inconsistent. Inconsistent risk, inconsistent rewards. In other words, it's not a scheduled 8-hour days, 8-hour day, or unless you run an 8-hour day, but there's not volatility every day. And there's times when, if you're flexible enough, you can be a swing trader on when you need to be. You get a swing account, and maybe that's enough for you, or maybe you get a scalp account. But if you push anything too hard, even if you're making money, you're going to say, well, you know, I'm just making money fast enough. And if you're making money, real good money, now you're probably going to risk more because you're trying to build your account, right? So there's two schools of thought there. Is that if you're making 100% a month, then just let it go with the same dollar risk. If you're risking $2,000 a month, don't risk $4,000 a month. Just stay at $2,000 a month and just let it go, and just let the account build. Or do you say, well, I've already got money. This is all risk capital, and I'm just going to push it hard like Samurai Trader. And you just, yeah, you could take $5,000 and turn it into $20,000 or 20 million. But the problem is when you get to 3 million, you've got to trade as if you've only got 20 grand, and you got to keep starting over from scratch in a way. You'd have to be ready to play the most basic song and the most complex song. It's not like you become a musician and play complicated, and now everything you do is on such a high level that it's like, no, you have to still have the root basics in there. And every day, if you're trading, every day that unfolds on the daily chart, the weekly chart, it's like literally, I mean, you could trade candlesticks on a daily chart because it's pretty easy. There's only like 3 good trades a month that you're like, oh my God, I made like 300 pips on that trade, risking 100. So is that a good ratio? Not if you bought $40 million worth of that currency, right? Maybe you don't have enough. And would you buy $40 million at one price? All I'm asking is, would you scale your risk? Well, big boys aren't doing that. They're not putting 1Ks in. Well, of course not. They couldn't even, man, the execution is just ridiculous. You get that big. Like I said, if I had built $3 million or $8 million position in that other account, and it was in 25Ks, I would have just scalped out, or I would have just gone, oh yeah, let's get out of that. But to unload, it's going to take 25 times longer to unload if it was 1Ks. So this is like a traffic jam on your account. And when you get to certain numbers, that matters. So everything matters. Now, from the standpoint of somebody saying, well, no, show me how to make money trading. Where do I get in? Where do I get out? If you just split the ticket in half, you're up on that game, right? Because what if you say, well, I'm going to put a wide stop in. Well, put a tight and a wide and a medium. And maybe they all three get stopped out. But your dollar risk is the same because the tight stop was designed to be a scalp. And having this stuff all commingle, but like once again, it takes work. It'll take you 3 hours a day to manage this system of that magnitude of like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I mean, full time, and this is when you'd need people helping you, unless you're just sitting around all day. But if you're doing that, you're probably scalping. There's not much to see. I mean, the news comes out, And without predicting any of the fundamentals, all you have to do is look at the explosion in the market and say, okay, how should you have played that? And even the goober stop entry guys are making money. Which for me, it's always tough to look at the chart and say, as it's happening, like I said, if you're a confirmation guy, you're chasing the market. It already left the station. You're getting in late on a stop, or if you're getting in because, oh, big boys are in now. Well, you know what? At any moment, it could retrace at least a tenth of a pip, and it probably almost, I'd say 99% chance that when you pull the trigger, you may be down a tenth of a pip for a little bit before you make your 1,000 pips. And if that's true, why in the fuck would you buy so much of the market? So I don't even know, like this Hans von Blumen, how are these guys executing, right? That's the biggest deal. So organization, yeah, it all matters. And what do you organize? Your day of checking the schedule to look at the markets and keep track of the charts. Do you have them printed out? Do you have a hard copy that you glance at and think about and go, what the fuck was I thinking? How do you do it? And this world with this fucking computer is just ridiculous. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's intangible. Everything's on the screen. You print these things out and take a look at it and you go, oh shit, man, look at this thing. And you just look at it and look at it and you just really, and then you have it in your brain. The monthly chart, you should be able to figure. Not too hard to, every month we look at the chart. I mean, this is real paint dry shit. That's hillbilly shit there. You look at the chart, you did a monthly chart. Yeah, it's fun. Dude, it looks like, really? Are we in wave? What wave are we in now on the monthly? Well, we got a doji on the monthly. That's what people would go down to the weekly and daily and all that, right? That's conventional thinking. But are you looking at the monthly if you're scalping on the 5 minute? No, I don't think so. Maybe you are. Maybe that's your edge. So it's open. I'd say there's more ways to think about it than there is ways to do it, because like I said, you're only limited to 3 entries, stop, limit, market. What are you going to do with that? So it says it's not organized enough to trade this way. Well, however, this is one of the hardest to grasp and is one of the 4 major techniques of trading market foundation. Whatever that means. Hardest to grasp. Well, I don't think it's that hard to grasp when you start losing money or making money. You're losing more than you make if you overtrade because the spread's beating the shit out of you. And the commissions are too. So you really got to be... The idea that you're scalping on the 7 minute chart or 5 minute chart and you're like, oh, yeah, you got to be hitting it good. So if you're a beginner, this is not for you, as it would be better to buy low and sell high instead. Well, yeah, it always is better to buy low and sell high. Now, this is the crux of the matter, is that if it's going up and you buy it, aren't you saying at this point, you fucked up? So I got like 3 systems up here. Now here's the infamous the dollar yen, and this grid is set at I think it's 5 pips there on the dotted line. I think, right? Yeah, it's 5 minute chart. This is dollar yen. It's live. Let me put up the tick chart for the dollar yen. There you go. So what's the trade? I say let's buy. Oh, of course the day's almost over, but I'll buy down here. So this is a 3 pip window, and this is a 5 minute chart. Does that look like a good trade? Looks good to me. So I could place that order there for, since the market will only be open for another hour and 45 minutes. Do you think we can make it down there? And this is the question, the quintessential question. Could the market drop down here and before it closes? And can it drop here? Now we're coming up on the vacuum right now, and that being these wicks. We're stop hunting. Now we're crushing down. You didn't have a chance here to sell the new highs unless you consider that you sold up here above the 100-yard line, and you actually, that's a 100-yard line, and you sold up there, and you cashed out of something already. Or are you buying right now? Did you just buy that pullback where they stop hunted everybody? So this is the question. Are you this guy on the 5-minute? Or are you this guy on the weekly? Or the 4-hour? Which guy are you? So time frame would be critical. Any analysis of the so-called stop hunt. Is this a stop hunt? Well, it is if you were long and you got your stop there and you was hoping it was going to go up here. On the 15, what's the story? And this must have been the news. But look at how when the news came out, and we've seen this before, anticipating the news, and you have a sell limit here. And then some guy in a stream once named Tweed, he posted a trade like that. And he nailed it, and he was just a beginner. Because, somebody that's been trading a long time will say, you mean to tell me this is a 4-pip window? I'm sorry, this is a one pip window here. And I could have a stop. Of course, the spread was probably ridiculous. In other words, the ask could have gone to here for a millisecond. We can't see that. There's nothing very deceiving about looking at these charts. You'd have to see the bid-ask chart. I'm sure it exists somewhere. We could probably dig that up. It probably does exist. And once again here, we don't even know if this would have got filled. Right, because that's a 10-pip window. If the spread went to 10 pips, and this is a 1-minute chart and it spiked down, it was a 15-minute chart, I'm pretty sure you got filled there. And that is a 10-pip window. So it's very handy to put up this grids. This is like the 5 handle here might be dotted. And like I said, abstractly speaking, just buying down here, 40 pips deep for the next 15 minutes, I don't think you're going to get filled. And so these questions are really the coolest thing about it. Is like, if, I'm going to show the beginning of the day here, so I'm going to make the grid, oh fuck, foreground's going to be white so I can see the period separators. No, yeah, there you go. So here's the beginning of, here's Asian session. So dollar yen comes up to the top. You get a double top on close, and it goes down. I have non-directional candles. And it goes down there. And if you had said to yourself, well, you know what, if it ever comes back to this price, and I know there's a bunch of, there's a 2-hour floor there, and there's a 4-hour floor, a 2-hour floor here. So this is 5 pips apart. If I buy here real heavy and I cash out into the last known 2-hour floor, which is right there in those 2 wicks, then I had made money on that trade. So we can see very obviously that the buy low, sell high does work. It's about, like in the SEAL Team 6 guy, it's about having the balls to withstand this move, and the only way to do that is to scale in. We also could have a buy limit on this, so what you're doing is putting your orders at where people's stops would be, so to speak, in that kind of money management thing. So the guy that went long here because he said, oh, it's going up, I'm going to buy, And he has a trailing stop here. You know, his first trailing stop, if you don't know what a trailing stop is, look that one up. But it's a risk management tool. So typically, let's say that you could perceive that this is a small candle, and it's a doji. Nice thing about these non-directional candles is it just takes your mind away from that whole bullish, bearish nonsense. You got the line to tell you that. And so you only get filled on the long side here, and you immediately come in, and your robot could come in, but you've been taught. And it's not these aren't, you know, not bad things that have been taught in these books. People are just, they're just relying on that one trade style, you know. So you get filled and you move your trailing stop and everything's great. You love it. And you don't get stopped out till here. It's very hard to believe, but if I put a moving average of lows on here, so all you have to do is come up here, insert indicators, and say, I want a moving average, and I want it to be white, and I want it to be, I'll make it skinnier, and I'll make it on the lows. Now look at this, never a lower low. Unbelievable. You could also have a robot that enters on that criteria. And I just don't know why that's so difficult to write. Sell new lows. I mean, sell them. In other words, run a trailing stop. Well, out 1 hour back. I mean, gosh, if somebody could build that robot, you know, and then you could take that robot and, presupposing we have access to the scripts that are in there, and we could say, okay, when the ATR is so-and-so, and we have, in other words, as this thing's going up, every day it goes up or every hour it goes up, it actually makes this more tickets start stacking up. It starts to launch more because there's more pressure building up. There's more lack of pressure. Just pressing up into something. So also let's add the highs in and go for the trend. Moving average of 1 and throw this on the highs, and then you can save that as a template. Now you get a different picture, and here is your only chance to get filled from the long side. So if it's a stop bot that buys new highs and sells new lows, it completely contradicts the idea of selling new highs, right? You're buying new highs. Well, how can that be? So if you tell that logic to somebody, they go, well, dude, make up your mind. Well, you don't have to. Because if you're not risking the whole account on each trade, yeah, it's going to get stopped out of that. But also, it makes a ton of money if it's set up so that it takes mechanical criteria, mechanical trading. Now, the problem with it is that you'll make money and your ego or your intellect saying, dude, this is like, I mean, it's overbought. I can't, why am I buying this? It's overbought. Well, I'm following a system, which that Norman guy says systems don't work. Well, they're working all the time. It works if you work it. And of course, the criteria has to be the volatility. So there's new highs here. It gets triggered here on the second candle. It's already long before it trips into this. Before it even takes out this Williams fractal, you're already long on a stop from here. And you rip up and you cash out of something. You have to. Don't forget your market bot has not taken any long positions. Market bot looks at the market every hour or whatever time frame. Here's this market bot's only long fill is here. And here you're getting trapped in a high volatility breakout, Very dangerous trade. When the ATRs, when the true range of each bar gets small, yeah, then it's good to put on a hedge or a stop entry hedge. But when this thing heats up like this, you're either selling this right here very aggressively, or you're cashing out. Because that's a price pulse climax, and then you buy. So sell 1 hour, buy 1 hour. Now, it just seems inconceivable that it could be that easy, but trading is that easy. But you could not make a living buying and selling at the market. You can get the shit beat out of you, and you're not putting enough into the mix. Like, you're not going to make... If you sell homes, you just can't sell Bigfoot homes all day. You're going to have to sell a couple losing homes. So, this is stuff to consider to make it realistic. You're not always going to hit... some guy emailed me and said, this is good, but how can I make more? Well, you're either going to farm it out to somebody who's objective, who's not going to be... Okay, somebody could probably raise your kid better than you do, because if you have a vested interest or if you have fears, you're not going to be able to do what needs to be done. You're too attached to your methodology or the books you read or the guru you followed or the house you live in or the way you make your eggs in the morning. But see, routine's comfort for people too. So that's why I just say good trading's boring. Yeah, because you're going to do it the same way you would drive your car. You don't drive your car and just do ridiculous high-risk things, do you? Take risks sometimes, like like some guy backed into me today. Started backing up into me. I'm like, I was like, oh my God, really? I'm trying to go for reverse and I'm honking at this guy. I'm thinking, dude, don't pull out into traffic unless you know that trade's good to go, right? Don't, really? He's pulling the trigger early. Now, you can get away with that in trading. In fact, trading is less risky than anything else, really. And what are you risking? If you know the risk going in is $20, could you put a 200 pip stop on a goddamn ticket, 1K? 200. I'm risking, whatever, how many pips you want to risk, and you don't feel any kind of, okay, I can handle that. $20, yeah. I do it again, yeah, another $20, and then just put a buy limit. So the simplest kind of, if these were 50 pip handles, whatever that number is, I can see the spread on this chart, so it's not that great. It's half a pip spread. This is the 1 hour chart. There's a lot of landscape here, and of course, like I could call out all the trades on here. I think it becomes very obvious what you should be doing at each moment on this chart. Right now, you are waiting to get filled on the long side and the short side at the end of this hour. Of course, the week's over. You could look back on the 1 hour chart, and there's how many bars a week? So it's 24 times 5. It's not really that because it opens Sunday night. But you look at that chart, and you should be able to see your trade, at least the breakout traders trade from a low volatility standpoint. But it is not like, so here is a 7 pip candle. Just before that, there's a trap to the south. You're trapped short. You did not get filled long, which is good, because if you got whipsawed into both legs, you would be so if you had a strict mechanical trading rule, and here you're trapped, you go long here and it rallies, right? Back into this floor here where you cash out, and maybe you go short there for a little bit, but everything's got to be a little bit because you're on 1 hour chart. You got to take the money and run. You got to take the money and run. If you can make 20 pips in 3 hours, that's pretty good. You just made 20 pips in 3 hours. 22, because you put the spread in there. But what if you made 8 pips and 16 and 30 and 28 and 17 and a half, and you just had a big cluster? of different kinds of trades, and you're like, oh, okay, you know what? You're always going to say, God, I wish I wouldn't have made that. God, I only made 5 pips in that trade. Okay, well then, you know, but you're trading a basket. That's what Ryan Brown's doing. So Ryan Brown's a trooper. He's young. See, he doesn't care. I don't know if anybody follows Ryan Brown. I do, just because he's not trying to. He's trying to do something different than the conventional thing. Anybody's unconventional. And like I say, he doesn't have to. He's got income. Most of these people that you see trade have income. They don't have to trade for a living. And maybe that's what they're doing, is selling how to trade, for like how to drive a car. Like I said, there's guys that coach golf. I'm sure you can take a golf lesson for $100 an hour down at the golf course. These guys are amazing. Then you have to ask them, how come you're not on the PGA Tour? Because they don't want to be. So I wouldn't discount somebody just because they're selling a course or something. I mean, their time's worth something. And, you know, the argument is that, well, if you know that, then why don't you just go off and trade it yourself? Well, that's a valid argument, right? Well, that's probably because, you know, maybe they don't have, you know, the time to do that stuff is not necessarily, you know, they don't have the time to do that. So they're just like, you know what? They enjoy it, you know. They enjoy, maybe they trade a little bit, or maybe they'd rather teach, you know. It doesn't mean what they're teaching isn't correct. And then so, and some people, like this one guy that was paying for this course with moving average crossovers and a candlestick pattern confirmation and entry, pulled the trigger. But the only problem there was they were asking to back test it, and it was like $3,000 for the course. Now, if you know how to trade, I think it's unethical to offer something like that. I think it's better to have something like that, like I don't know, maybe just write a book, sell it for $100, or I don't know. You know, if you are gonna, like I said, nobody's gonna trade the same way. So it's kind of like if you were to take guitar lessons, just because you show up with your guitar doesn't mean that. You know, if you show up just because you're doing it for fun, entertainment, it doesn't mean you have to be a professional guitarist. You just want to do it. So I've had all sorts of, I guess, trading. The idea is you're trying to make money. It's not like, oh, you know, you're playing guitar for entertainment. Yeah, people are trading for entertainment, though. And there's nothing wrong with that. And maybe they make a few bucks along the way, and they're like, you know, it's kind of fun. I feel like I'm part of the world. I'm involved in watching the news. And, you know, I remember that when I was looking forward to, like, oh, you know, what's the news going to say and what's going to happen? I don't know. Just kind of, you know, after a while, you just, unless you're chewing on that, like to entertain yourself or try to speculate, well, what will they do? And what is this guy going to do? And like I said, my buddy that's doing this calls the banks in the morning and, you know, heavy hitter trader to get the price levels. But I think, you know, honestly, you could see, everybody can see the prices. I mean, look, I think gold's just doomed. Gold's falling through the floor. Yeah, gold looks like it's going to do that collapse. Bitcoin hasn't fallen into that crevasse below 6,000, but gold looks like it's melting. And crude oil looks like maybe it's done, but those kind of speculations are very entertaining. I mean, I would love to see gold come back to 800. It would crack me up like nothing else to hear. And just to watch all the YouTube. Of course, the new algorithm in YouTube is giving me all sorts of great new people to watch. And, you know, that's going to be something else if gold collapses, because all the stackers will be like crying manipulation. And it's like, dude, it's like, I don't know, it's just like I said, so I'm just going to play my guitar tonight probably. Oh, with all the copyright stuff, I want to record some stuff and just publish my own music in the background or something. Do some more publishing of music, because this is mine. It's so funny, because these poor guys that aren't musicians, they're like I use the YouTube Muzak system and stuff. Also got a rally coming here, and also the stocks are going to close here in 20 minutes. I guess I'm not sticking to my comments about the comments. Here's a 5-minute chart. So do you think the stop hunt's over? And look at, we're about to get filled on the long side from our mechanical buy stop strategy. I'm at maximum zoom in here. I like this buy here. It looks very good. I'm letting the... this is what they call a good setup. It could just as well go down, though. So this is why mechanical trading may make more money. Because what you perceive as a good setup, even back-tested to the end of the world, is going to occasionally lose money, even if it's only a little bit. So you can't have all your eggs in one basket. I don't think you can trade one approach. I just don't think I don't think it's stable. You need to have a backup plan. Like you get stopped out, so having a tight stop and having, say you buy at the market with 8 pip stop, and you put a limit in 14 pips deep with another 8 pip stop, or maybe now a 20 pip anchor stop. And if you notice, when you buy at the market, they're stopping you out. And then here's the bad part, is that before you get filled on your 14 pip limit and you stopped out of your 8 pip stop, there's 6 pips. Imagine there's no spread of you're not in the market. So if you want to be in, you have to think of a 3K. You buy one at the market with a 20 pip stop, you buy one with an 8, and then you have a limit sitting 22 pips deep. So you have to really have this triple threat, this triple thing going. At least the tripod effect of, okay, you're in something. And this cures any fear of missing out. I just get in here at the market. Like I would get in now. Like, see, this is what's really disturbing, is if you know a good setup and you miss it and you get in now and then it comes back and they stop you, you're like, God damn it. Should have just bought back there. It takes a while to adjust your timing to the thing because, it's like kick drum. You got to be hitting the beater before the note comes up. You've got to, like if you're going to make a cymbal grow with mallets, you've got to start that early so the swell comes in. So those kind of things are, if you're going to time the market, that's going to be a deal. And if you're going to time it, you're going to do it at the market on the clock, and every 5 minutes, every 15, there's this, there's that. And like I said, if you had a robot, you could build the 15-minute market bot. You can see the trades it would have put on. It would have bought at the end of 15 minutes. It would have bought here, because if it's down more than 12 pips in 15 minutes, it buys at the market. It buys at the market. These 2 bars, and it doesn't buy anymore after that. So I bought here. I bought here. It doesn't do any more trading. The stop bot is getting whiplashed because you're on the 15. But maybe the criteria, and maybe, it's not just maybe, you're going to have to say we only take 4.5 pip candles for breakouts. So there's only one trade here. And the breakout bot, here again, and it's getting quiet in the day. Here is a trap for the breakout bot, but then he comes back in, right? He gets trapped long here, but with that fear missing out wide stop, it's okay, and you'd have to be here to take that money off the table. There's the vacuum filling up in the bottom here. Then maybe you're long into that, and you buy here and you buy here. And if you're still holding this ticket that you bought here, you are now, and you were up on that trade. Don't forget, you were up here on this. And you didn't get out. And here it looks like we could crush up for the last part of the day here. And then that's it. Got to be taking profits into this window now. You have to. And you could also say, well, the end of the day is here. Close all positions by there, win, lose, or draw. Are you long from a basket of limits you set down here with 20 pip stops? You can risk quite a bit if you've got conviction, a view of structure. Is this top the structure carried forward that you should have bought on limits? Is the 4-hour chart something you can handle trading? It's pretty tough. Pretty tough. Look at this gorgeous top become a bottom become a top here on the 4-hour before the collapse. A triangle, then blam. Falls through the floor brutally. And then here, so you could trade the yen. You could trade all these pairs if you're a swing trader. And then you could trade 5-6 pairs. You know, have your wife trade the yen, or find some Asian girl to trade the yen. She'd probably be good at it, you know. They say the candlesticks work better on the Asian currency pairs. So yeah, it's a bottomless pit anyways. I don't know if that helps. But if I get an idea there, I'll come back and do another tape. I do want to try the hedge system. I'm going to rewrite the script for stop entry, I think, and have it just launch every maybe 8 hours. I can set that. That's one thing I can set. Everything so far I've been testing has been limits, because I think it's fascinating to have these orders above and below that disappear. But it's not to say we can't have triggers, even 10 pips away. And if they only launch at a certain time of day before this breakout thing, and we scale out, we do have a 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way to 45 pip take profits. The hard master stop entry, and maybe a soft but better ratios. Say, so you buy at a stop 5 pips above with an 8 pip stop, you're risking 13. The next ticket makes 5 more pips, and it has 1 more pip of exposure, on and on. So I have those scripts written. I can write them fast now, as I've written them before, and have that as a completely symmetrical thing. It's objective, buy and sell side. Either side can be triggered, but it only drops. It drops infrequently, and if it drops really infrequently, it has bigger targets, because you're going to run that on maybe it only trades 3 times a day. Ideally, I'm going to find somebody to code it so that they can bring into, and I would have to describe in detail what I want coded. And so far people say, well, what you're saying is just too complicated. I'm not even talking about a moving average or MACD or anything like that. I'm just talking about range, higher highs. I mean, moving average of highs, 1 period moving average of highs, 1 period moving average of lows, and the closing price. Those are the 3 criteria. I don't care about the open unless I was to do the candle bot, which would be open to close on each bar. And that's pretty subtle because depending where that opens, and that's actually different in each broker. So you'd probably get the same robot running on 5 different brokers is going to behave slightly differently. And so that's something to consider. But yeah, that's what it looks like because robots are here. There's nothing you can do about it. You might as well join the robot situation in some regard and have that working for you. But yeah, I've got a candidate. I think I have somebody that I think I'm going to take one of my computers over and park it in their house and see if they could trade the demo. And I'm trying to build confidence in them to trade it, to see it work. Like $500 in a demo account, and then I'm going to have them manually place orders based on structure. And I'm just going to have them run it because, or have them check in on it. And since they're not a trader, this person seems to be reasonably intelligent. And I'm just careful not to say too much. It's such a deep topic. It's like if you were talking about golf with somebody, you'd be like, yeah, and after all that, there's the wind to take into consideration. They're like, wind? Can I just hit the ball and have it go straight? Well, kind of. In other words, you could have a great drive. Can you aim, though? So these are the things, right? Can you aim the ball? So, anyways, I'm just going to put this up here. I'll double check the audio here for Hans. I am Hans and he is Franz. And we're going to blow up your account.